The moment stretched, thick with anticipation. Then, as if awakening from a dream, Samira shook off her hesitation and stepped through the gateway, each footfall echoing like a drumbeat in the vast silence. The sounds of the city swelled around her, carrying scents of roasting meat, sweet spices, and blooming flowers. Sunlight glinted off white walls, adorned with intricate designs of curling vines and exotic birds. Lush gardens overflowed with plants that brushed against Samira's bare arms, their petals soft as velvet and fragrant as perfume. Fountains tinkled merrily, their spray painting rainbows in the air. As she ventured deeper, she spotted people of all ages, their skin a rich tapestry of colors, their clothes shimmering with gold thread and jewels. They strolled along broad avenues, shaded by colonnaded walkways, or haggled playfully with merchants over mounds of glistening fruit. Children chased pigeons in the squares, while musicians plucked lively tunes on lutes and harps. Even the air seemed to hum with merriment. Samira's eyes widened. This was no ordinary city. Its beauty was a feast for the eyes and a melody for the soul. The streets were bustling thoroughfares, teeming with activity. She marveled at the shops with their wares, spilling out onto the pavement spiles of colorful rugs, stacks of earthenware, baskets overflowing with dates and figs. She saw craftsmen at their trades, a coppersmith hammering a pot, a weaver deftly maneuvering his loom, a jeweler setting precious stones into intricate patterns. All around her, the city throbbed with life, its citizens going about their daily routines. It was a symphony of sights, sounds, and smells. At the end of one street, Samira spotted a massive structure unlike any she had seen before. Its sides were decorated with scenes of gods riding majestic beasts, of battles and processions, of men and women frolicking in gardens. What was this place? Suddenly, an old woman with kind eyes and a warm smile approached her. "Welcome, little one," she said, her voice like the tinkling of fountains. "You must be lost." Samira hesitated, unsure if she could trust this stranger, but there was something about the woman's gentle eyes and welcoming smile that put Samira at ease. I'm looking for the Hanging Gardens," she finally stammered, realizing how foolish she must sound to a Babylonian. The woman chuckled, a musical sound that echoed in the square. "Ah, the Hanging Gardens. So you seek the jewel of Babylon." Samira nodded, her eyes shining with admiration. "They say anyone who sees its beauty will never forget it." The woman squeezed Samira's hand. "Then you have come to the right place. I know a shortcut, a secret path that will take you straight to its entrance. Follow me." And with that, the woman turned and started walking down a narrow alley between two rows of shops. Samira hesitated for a moment, torn between the safety of the crowded streets and the allure of the unknown. But the thought of seeing the Hanging Gardens spurred her on. Taking a deep breath, she decided to follow the mysterious woman. The alley opened into a small courtyard filled with fragrant flowers and herbs. A fountain gurgled softly in the center, its water cascading over tiers of sculpted marble. To one side, a doorway arched invitingly, framed by climbing vines. "Here it is," the woman said, stepping aside. "The entrance to the Hanging Gardens," Samira gasped. The sight before her took her breath away. A long flight of steps led up to a series of platforms adorned with lush vegetation, waterfalls, and sparkling pools. Exotic birds with brilliant plumage perched on stone balustrades, their songs echoing in the terraces. The air buzzed with the murmur of bees among the flowers. "Oh, it's even more beautiful than Jada's stories," Samira breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. The woman smiled. "It's a place where earth and heaven meet, where the very air is sweet with magic. Come, I'll show you around." And with that, the old woman started to climb the steps leading to the first terrace. Samira, still lost in the magic of the gardens, followed closely behind. As they ascended, the scent of blooming flowers intensified, mingling with the sound of trickling fountains. Each terrace was a masterpiece, filled with statuesque plants, chirping birds, and the murmur of water. The old woman pointed out varieties of trees and shrubs, explaining their uses in healing and everyday life. She spoke of the palace that overlooked the gardens of King Nebuchadnezzar, its builder, and his beloved queen Amulet, for whom he created this oasis of beauty. By the time Samira reached the highest terrace, her head swam with images of exotic birds, fragrant blooms, and gurgling fountains. The view was breathtaking. She could see the entire city of Babylon spread out before her, its walls a crown of burnt brick and green. To the west, the river snaked like a silver ribbon, reflecting the afternoon sun. In the distance, Samira could make out the Ziggurat, its towering presence, a reminder of the gods. The old woman placed a hand on Samira's shoulder. "Do you understand now why these gardens are called the Jewel of Babylon?" Samira turned, meeting the woman's knowing eyes. "It's not just the beauty, but the story behind it. The love of a king for his wife," she whispered. The old woman nodded. "A king willing to defy the heavens for love. Who wouldn't want to see such gardens?" As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the terraces, Samira knew she had to return. Saying goodbye to the old woman, she retraced her steps through the city, its vibrant colors and sounds fading into the gathering dusk. Back in the familiar quiet of her village, she looked at the glowing pebble in her hands. It seemed to pulse with the memory of Babylon, a tangible link to the city of wonders. She wondered, was it just a magical stone? Or did it hold the key to unraveling the mysteries of Babylon? One thing was sure: Samira's journey had just begun. The moment Samira laid eyes on the mysterious blue pebble, she knew her life would never be the same. It was as if the ancient stones of Babylon itself had whispered secrets into its smooth surface, and now it thrummed with power in her hand, pulsing with an energy that echoed the rhythm of her own heart. This wasn't just a stone, it was a key, a tangible link to a world that existed only in whispers and myths. Her journey to the Ishtar Gate, one of Babylon's most iconic landmarks, had been fraught with peril, a whirlwind of dust, fear, and the constant hum of magic in her pocket. Yet it was also filled with wonder, each step bringing her closer to the beating heart of this lost civilization. Now, standing before the magnificent gateway with its celestial tiles and watchful lion guardians, she knew she had taken the first step towards unraveling a mystery that had slept for millennia. But who could have sent her this mystical guide? And what role did they play in her destiny? With the comforting presence of the pebble at her waist, Samira navigated the maze of bustling marketplaces, ancient palaces, and hidden pathways that made up the heart of Babylon. As she explored, the true extent of the city's grandeur unfolded around her, a testament to the ingenuity and artistry of a people long gone. The Hanging Gardens, one of the ancient world's 7 wonders, took her breath away with their tiered levels of lush greenery cascading down the palace walls. Even after all these centuries, their beauty and complexity left her in awe. She wandered through the temple of Marduk, the chief deity of Babylon, where priests once performed sacred rituals and the air vibrated with devotion. Intricate carvings adorned the temple walls, depicting epic battles and mythical creatures. Yet it was in the quieter corners of the city that Samira felt the spirit of Babylon most keenly. In the cozy tea houses where merchants traded tailies alongside steaming cups of spiced saffron. In the artisans' workshops, where the rhythmic clink of hammer on metal echoed through the narrow streets. And in the hushed tones of the scholars in the great library, their voices weaving stories of forgotten lore. As days turned into nights, Samira found herself falling in love with the city. She reveled in its chaotic energy, the vibrant colors, the intoxicating aromas of spices and street food, the lively banter of the locals, and the haunting melodies played on instruments she had never seen before. She learned to haggle in the bazaars, trading trinkets and fabrics in a flurry of gestures and smiles. And she shared meals with fellow travelers and scholars, each person adding a new thread to her understanding of this ancient world. Through it all, the blue pebble remained by her side, its warmth a constant reassurance, its energy guiding her towards places of importance, whispering secrets of Babylon's past. It led her to hidden murals depicting scenes from everyday life, allowing her to catch a glimpse of how ordinary people lived and loved. It directed her to crumbling tablets inscribed with cuneiform script, opening windows into the thoughts and emotions of people who had lived and died here centuries ago. But it was in the dead of night, when the city slept and the moonlight bathed the streets in silver, that the pebble revealed its most enchanting secrets. For it was then that the boundaries between the worlds of past and present seemed to blur, and Samira could feel the echoes of ancient footsteps around her, hear the distant strum of harps and drums, and sense the spirits of Babylonians moving through the shadows. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the pebble guided Samira to a secluded garden nestled at the edge of the city walls. Here, amid the fragrant blossoms and trickling fountains, the energy of the stone grew particularly strong, and as she closed her eyes, she could almost hear the whispers of long-departed souls, sharing their stories with her. It was here that Samira discovered the true purpose of her journey. Through the pebble, she realized that she was not just a tourist in Babylon, but a vital part of its story. She understood that she had been brought here to reconnect with the city's fragmented past, to listen to the tales that had been buried under layers of time and neglect. And so she sat in the garden day after day, letting the magic of the place wash over her, recording the stories and insights that came to her in moments of meditation. She learned of the city's greatest triumphs and its darkest secrets, of the lives of ordinary people and the deeds of legendary kings. And she'd felt a profound sense of responsibility to share these tales with the world. For Samira realized that by listening to the whispers of Babylon, she was helping to give voice to those who had been silenced by the sands of time. As weeks turned into months, Samira's connection to Babylon deepened. She became fluent in the local dialect, mastering the art of storytelling and weaving it seamlessly into the tapestry of her life. She befriended historians and archaeologists who shared her passion for uncovering the city's secrets, and together they embarked on expeditions to uncover lost artifacts and hidden chambers. She helped excavate a burial chamber filled with treasures that had lain untouched for centuries, each artifact a silent witness to the lives of Babylon's elite. She assisted in the discovery of a secret tunnel leading from the royal palace to the nearby Euphrates River, revealing a new perspective on life in ancient Babylon. But perhaps the most significant find was an ancient scroll written in the royal court, detailing the origins of the city and its people. As Samira carefully deciphered the faded ink, she uncovered a narrative that challenged everything she had learned about Babylon's history. It told of a time when the city was not a monolithic entity, but a collection of independent tribes, united by a common purpose. This discovery forced historians to reevaluate their understanding of Babylon, recognizing the diversity and complexity of its early years. It was a revelation that would change the course of history and cement Samira's name among the greatest archaeologists of her time. Throughout her adventures, the blue pebble remained by her side, a constant reminder of her journey's purpose. Its glow intensified whenever she uncovered a new piece of the puzzle, guiding her towards the next chapter in Babylon's saga. It became a symbol of her unwavering determination to uncover the city's secrets, no matter how deeply buried they might be. But as Samira's fame grew, so did the danger she faced. Rival scholars and treasure hunters sought to claim Babylon's secrets and riches for themselves, putting Samira and her companions in peril. She found herself targeted by envious colleagues who would stop at nothing to discredit her work. Yet through it all, Samira remained steadfast, her love for Babylon and her thirst for knowledge driving her forward. She faced each challenge with courage, knowing that every obstacle brought her closer to the truth. For it was in the face of adversity that she truly discovered the strength within herself and the unbreakable bonds of friendship and loyalty that surrounded her. And so Samira continued her work in Babylon, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a profound respect for the city's past. With each passing day, she delved deeper into its mysteries, uncovering secrets that had slumbered for millennia. And as she pieced together the fragments of Babylon's history, she also found herself becoming a vital part of its story, her name echoing through the ages alongside the greatest legends of the ancient world. For Samira was more than just an explorer in Babylon. She was a storyteller, a guardian of the past, and a weaver of futures yet to come. In the heart of Babylon, where the Euphrates flowed like molten gold, and the hanging gardens cascaded into eternity, Samira's legend was born, and it was a tale that would resonate through time, reminding all who heard it that even in the dust of ages, hope and discovery bloom eternal. Samira raced through the maze of alleys, the setting sun casting long shadows that stretched and twisted like phantoms. Each step took her deeper into the heart of Babylon, the city's vibrant tapestry woven with intrigue and whispers of an ancient prophecy. Her journey began just hours ago, when a hooded stranger slipped her a worn map, his cryptic words echoing in her ears. Where the goddess weeps, the prophecy begins. That cryptic clue had led her to this moment, standing before a crumbling wall adorned with faded murals of Ishtar, the goddess of love and war. But for Samira, this ordinary wall held extraordinary significance. According to legend, behind this weathered stone lay the entrance to the Hanging Gardens, one of Babylon's 7 wonders, and the key to unlocking her own destiny. As darkness fell, casting an ethereal glow on the ancient bricks, Samira traced the map's markings on the wall, feeling a tingle run up her arm. Suddenly, a loose brick revealed a hollow space, just as the map foretold. But instead of finding a passage, she discovered only a shaft leading into the earth, pitch black and ominously silent. With no other clues, she descended into its yawning depths, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The tunnel reeked of damp earth and forgotten secrets, each twist and turn deepening the mystery that shrouded Babylon's famed gardens. Just when despair threatened to consume her, the tunnel opened into a cavern illuminated by an array of flickering torches. The air buzzed with activity. Here, in this subterranean labyrinth, Samira found not only the entrance to the gardens, but also a bustling community hidden beneath the city's bustling streets. Their homes were carved into the living rock, decorated with vibrant murals that depicted a thriving civilization untouched by the passage of time. Children chased each other through archways, their laughter echoing off the cavern walls, while men and women haggled over wares displayed on makeshift stalls. Some bore striking resemblances to desert nomads, their features weathered and their eyes sharp, with a lifetime of navigating the unforgiving sand. Others looked like the city dwellers she'd seen from afar, their clothes finer, their faces bearing the soft marks of privilege. All of them, however, seemed surprised by her sudden appearance, their murmurs drawing attention like moths to a flame. Among them was a wizened old woman whose piercing gaze seemed to see right through. She beckoned with a gnarled finger, and after exchanging hushed words with a burly man, the group parted, revealing a pathway leading deeper into the cavern. Curiosity and apprehension battled within Samira, but the old woman's unwavering stare spurred her forward. This underground realm, with its bustling marketplace and intricate dwellings, had captured her imagination. Where were the famous gardens, and what role did they play in the prophecy? Why had she been brought here? As she ventured further, she noticed intricate irrigation systems channeling water from unknown sources, keeping the plants thriving even in the artificial light of oil lamps. Her senses were captivated by the sweet aroma of blooming lilies, mingling with the savory scents of spices she could unname. The vibrant colors of exotic flowers, many unlike any she'd seen before, added to the enchanting atmosphere. Amidst this subterranean Eden, she realized she wasn't just exploring a hidden oasis, but stepping into a world untouched by time. Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the marketplace, drawing everyone's attention. A young man with dirt smudged on his face stumbled out of one of the caverns, clutching a bloodied staff, his panicked breaths echoing in a stunned silence that followed. "Bandits," he gasped, collapsing onto a nearby bench. "They attacked our caravan, our supplies. It's all gone." A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Samira saw fear etched on every face. Without their supplies, the people here would face starvation. In that moment, she understood the gravity of their situation. This hidden community was not just a secret oasis. It was a refuge for those seeking shelter from Babylon's heart. But now that refuge was under threat, determined to help, Samira stepped forward, hoping to offer some assistance. However, her outsider status made her an instant target for suspicion. Her foreign clothes and unfamiliar face made her stand out like a lone star in the darkest night. Whispers followed her every move, questioning who she was and what her intentions might be. Some saw her as a spy sent by their enemies, while others believed she carried a curse that brought misfortune. Faced with such adversity, Samira knew she had to prove herself. She needed to find a way to help this community before their distrust turned into open hostility. As the whispers grew louder, Samira knew she had to act fast. She needed to find a way to help the community without exposing her own identity. But how could she possibly do that? Little did she know that her quest for a solution would lead her to a chance encounter that would change everything. Exploring the marketplace, Samira decided to start where her knowledge was strongest. The marketplace. Perhaps she could use her understanding of trade and sales to help organize a new system for distributing food. There, she met Ziba, a sharp-witted merchant with a flair for bartering. Despite initial skepticism, Ziba agreed to help, recognizing the desperate need for change. Their first task was to assess the current state of affairs. Working late into the evening, they studied records and spoke to vendors. By the end of the day, they had a clear picture of the challenges ahead. The community's complex web of barter relationships had broken down. Essential items were scarce, and trust in the leaders was waning. It was a daunting task, but Samira and Ziba were determined to rise to the challenge. Using her knowledge of record-keeping from her life above ground, Samira helped introduce accounting practices that allowed them to track goods more efficiently. Meanwhile, Ziba used her negotiation skills to establish fair trading practices, ensuring that everyone received a fair share. Their efforts gradually paid off. People began to trust their system, leading to a more organized distribution of resources. Slowly, the underground community started to heal. The gardens, once a symbol of loss, became a beacon of hope for a brighter future. Seeing the positive impact she was making, Samira felt a sense of accomplishment. However, as always, the road ahead was uncertain. The introduction of accounting practices and fair trading had restored order, but they had also attracted unwanted attention. A group of influential merchants, unhappy with the changes to their traditional ways, were plotting to disrupt the system. Led by the cunning Zarek, these merchants sought to undermine Samira and Ziba's reforms, hoping to restore the old ways of trade. Samira and Ziba, unaware of the brewing conflict, continued working to improve the community's system. They implemented measures to prevent hoarding, encouraged diversification of goods, and established a council to oversee trade practices. But their efforts were about to be put to the ultimate test. Zarek's plan was simple yet effective. He spread rumors that Samira and Ziba were stealing from the community, turning the very people they had helped against them. The once supportive vendors now questioned their motives, their words like daggers piercing Samira's heart. Samira, shocked and hurt by the accusations, knew she had to act swiftly to regain the community's trust. Gathering the council, she and Ziba presented evidence refuting the claims, but Zarek's lies had taken root. Even the council, swayed by the whispers, began to doubt their leadership. With their reputation in tatters, Samira and Ziba faced a difficult choice. They could try to convince the community of their innocence, or cut their losses and leave the underground city. Torn between their desire to help and the need to protect themselves, they decided to fight for their place in the community. With the support of a few loyal followers, they set out to gather irrefutable proof of Zarek's treachery. Their investigation led them to Zarek's storehouse, where they uncovered hidden stashes of scarce resources. They had found the proof they needed. But how could they possibly expose Zarek without risking their own safety? The stakes were high, and the fate of the underground community hung in the balance. As the last vision faded, the gardens fell silent, their vibrant colors dimming as if mourning the lost magic. The air, once alive with bird song, grew heavy and still, mirroring the unsettling feeling in Samira's chest. Turning to Kadir, she saw a wild look on his face, his grip on the reed basket tight enough to make her wince. "We need to get out of here," he whispered urgently, pulling her towards the archway. But before they could disappear into the rose bushes, a voice, smooth as honeyed wine, stopped them in their tracks. "So the little thief has found her way into my garden." From behind a nearby fig tree emerged a woman as beautiful and chilling as a winter moon. Her dark hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall, and her eyes glittered with a cold fire. Her lips curled into a cruel smile, revealing teeth that were just a bit too sharp, a bit too long. "Who are you?" Samira demanded, stepping in front of Kadir, her small frame trembling with defiance. "My dear child," the woman purred, taking a languid step closer. "I am the guardian of these gardens, the keeper of Babylon's secrets." Fear pricked at Samira, but she stood firm. "Then let us go," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Your secrets are safe with us." The woman's smile widened, revealing those unnerving teeth. "Oh, but they're not," she said softly. "Not if I have anything to say about it." Before Samira could react, the woman snapped her fingers. In an instant, two burly men materialized from behind the fig tree, blocking their path. Their faces were grim and their eyes held a chilling emptiness. One of them reached out, his fingers like iron hooks, closing around Samira's arm. Pain shot through her as he pulled her away from Kadir. "Let me go!" she cried, struggling against his grip, but he only tightened his hold. "You have something that belongs to me," the woman said, her voice like silk over steel. "And now I'm afraid we must take it from you." As she approached, Samira caught a glimpse of her face in the fountain's shimmering surface. Gone was the image of a woman. In her place swam a creature of nightmare, a lioness with a woman's head, her eyes burning with unholy fire. Terror flooded Samira's veins. She had stumbled upon something ancient and evil, something that thrived in the shadows of Babylon's glory. But amidst the fear, a spark of determination ignited within her. She would not let this creature or its minions take the scroll. Not when it held the key to saving her grandmother, and perhaps all of Babylon. With a surge of adrenaline, she twisted in the man's grasp, elbowing him in the ribs as hard as she could. He howled in pain, giving her just enough space for her other hand to reach out and grab a fistful of his thick beard. Pulling her arm back, she rammed her shoulder into his, aiming for the spot just below his chest, where she knew his heart must be. He stumbled back, clutching at his chest as if struck by a spear. In that instant, she turned and fled, racing deeper into the gardens. The creatures enraged, screech echoing behind her. Bursting through a hedge, she found herself in a narrow path between high walls. On one side loomed a row of towering palm trees, their fronds rustling ominously. On the other, the wall was adorned with thorny acacia, their branches clawing at the sky. Up ahead, she heard the scrape of metal on stone, followed by the sound of the gate to the garden slamming shut. She didn't dare turn back. Instead, pushing her fear aside, she picked up her pace, determined to escape the gardens and find somewhere safe. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs screamed for rest, not daring to slow down, not daring to breathe too deeply so as not to attract attention. Finally, as the sun climbed higher in the sky, she found an opening in the wall overgrown with creeping vines. Slipping through, she collapsed onto the other side, gasping for breath. As she lay there, listening to the sounds of the city slowly awakening, she wondered where Kadir was and how had he managed to escape the clutches of the lion woman and her minions? Or worse, had they captured him? The thought of losing him, of losing her best friend, sent a fresh wave of fear and sadness crashing over her. Quickly, she pushed the worry down, forcing herself to sit up. She had to think of a plan, devise a way to defeat the Lion Queen and save her grandmother. The thought of her grandmother, frail and fading in the market, spurred her into action. She couldn't afford to waste time feeling sorry for herself. The blue pebble, sensing her turmoil, pulsed warmly against her leg, where she had tucked it, taking it out. She examined its smooth surface, searching for answers, for guidance, and in that moment, she remembered the stories her grandmother used to tell her about the blue pebble people, a race of tiny, wise beings who lived within such pebbles, granting wishes and offering counsel. The blue pebble people were not just mythical creatures from her grandmother's bedtime stories. They were real. They had helped her before, and maybe, just maybe, they would do it again. Babylon's legendary hanging gardens shimmered before Samira and Kadir. Each terrace a verdant jewel box nestled amidst the ancient city's terracotta rooftops. Yet the couple knew their stolen moment of sanctuary was a fleeting one. They had awakened a force older than Babylon itself, and its echoes were reaching out across the millennia to claim what was rightfully theirs. Their journey began in the lower depths of the city, a labyrinthine warren of tunnels humming with hidden energies. In the heart of this subterranean maze, they discovered a crystal orb, its depths swirling with visions of Babylon's past, present, and future. As they touched it, the orb flared, revealing the existence of the blue pebble, an artifact of immense power and a true source of Babylon's legendary magic. Guided by cryptic clues and ancient rhymes, they navigated traps left by the long-forgotten guardians of the tunnels in the realm of the dead. They faced their deepest fears and buried past traumas, finding solace in their shared determination to return the pebble to its rightful place and restore balance to the city. But their every move was shadowed by unseen eyes, and as they neared the Ziggurat, the heart of Babylon's magic, they realized they were not alone in seeking the blue pebble. Amongst the crowds celebrating the upcoming New Year's festival, a mysterious priestess sensed their presence. She moved like a phantom through the bustling bazaars, and her gaze pierced through all disguises. Aware of the danger closing in, Samira and Kadir sought refuge in the cool embrace of the hanging gardens. Here, amidst the fragrant blooms and murmuring fountains, they found a fleeting respite from the hunt. However, even in this Edenic paradise, the priestess found them, her presence a dark cloud on the horizon. Fearing the encroaching shadows, they fled to the river Files. As night fell, they slipped away in a humble reed boat, racing against the relentless current towards the distant. Their escape was fraught with peril. A monstrous crocodile, a manifestation of primal fear, blocked their path, its cold eyes gleaming in the darkness. Yet when the creature lunged, a surge of magical energy from the blue pebble repelled the beast, granting them a momentary reprieve. They pushed on, reaching the foot of the Ziggurat just as the priestess came ashore. With the fate of Babylon hanging in the balance, they had arrived at the final showdown. Now standing at the entrance of the Ziggurat, a colossal structure adorned with intricate carvings and bathed in celestial light, Samira and Kadir prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. The Ziggurat, a monument to ancient wisdom and power, stood as both a beacon and a fortress, marking their final leg on the quest to return the blue pebble to its celestial resting place. Will they be able to restore balance to Babylon, or will the priestess claim the blue pebble for her own nefarious purposes? Let's find out. The ascent to the Ziggurat summit was fraught with peril. Gigantic stone doors barred their path, etched with arcane symbols that hummed with latent power. Deciphering their meaning allowed Samira and Kadir to pass, entering chambers where time seemed to stand still. Each step brought them closer to the blue pebble's celestial resting place, but also deeper into the web of the priestess's schemes. As they ventured higher, the air grew thinner and colder, the vibrant colors of Babylon fading into shades of gray. The Ziggurat's upper reaches were cloaked in mist, shrouding its secrets in an ethereal haze. This transformation marked their transition from the earthly realm to the ethereal plane, where the boundaries between past, present, and future blurred, and the priestess's presence grew more tangible, her thoughts echoing in the chamber's vast emptiness. Just when hope seemed lost, the familiar glow of the blue pebble surged. Within it sang to her, guiding her steps towards a chamber bathed in celestial light. The sight that greeted them was breathtaking. A colossal crystal altar dominated the room, its surface rippling with otherworldly energy. As they approached, the altar unfolded, revealing a celestial map of Babylon, its lights twinkling like fallen stars. The blue pebble fit perfectly into a socket at its center, resonating with the hum of celestial energy. This was the nexus of Babylon's magic, the very heart of the city's power. As the blue pebble settled into its resting place, the Ziggurat resonated, its ancient stones humming with renewed vigor. Celestial energies surged around Samira, filling her with an otherworldly power. But their victory was from the shadows. The priestess emerged, her eyes blazing with a mixture of triumph and defeat. The truth of her intentions unfolded, revealing a desperate attempt to save Babylon from a looming celestial event that threatened to engulf the city in darkness. Faced with this revelation, Samira was torn. Her connection to the blue pebble deepened, granting her the ability to shape Babylon's destiny. But which path would she choose? Would she heed the priestess's warning and unlock the Ziggurat's full potential? Or would she restore the blue pebble to its resting place, trusting in the city's ancient magic to guide its course? The fate of Babylon hung in the balance as Samira grappled with this monumental decision, knowing that her choice would reverberate through the ages. Samira stood bathed in celestial light at the summit of Babylon's great before her, a breathtaking panorama of the ancient city unfolded, a tapestry of terracotta rooftops, winding canals, and lush gardens shimmering under the radiant sun. Yet the panoramic view held a deeper significance. It was a testament to the countless lives lived and lost within Babylon's embrace, each soul contributing to the city's enduring legacy. The blue pebble nestled against her chest, its gentle hum resonating with the rhythm of Babylon's beating heart. It was a constant reminder of the responsibility she now bore, the fate of the city resting in her hands. But the weight of her newfound role was tempered by the awe-inspiring grandeur of the Ziggurat. Its towering presence had guided her every step of the way, shielding her from harm and revealing the secrets of Babylon's magic. Now, at the pinnacle of this ancient structure, she felt an overwhelming sense of connection to those who had walked these hallowed halls before. The echoes of their hopes and dreams resonated within the very stones, binding generations past, present, and future. As the cool evening breeze caressed her skin, carrying the scent of jasmine and distant frankincense, Samira took a deep breath, savoring the moment. Around her, the city bustled with anticipation for the upcoming New Year's festival. The joyful laughter and music drifted up to the Ziggurat, weaving a vibrant tapestry of sound and merriment. Despite the looming shadows cast by the priestess's lingering presence, Samira couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging. She had journeyed through the labyrinthine tunnels beneath Babylon, braved perilous encounters with creatures from the realm of the dead, and deciphered cryptic clues left by long-forgotten guardians. Through it all, her connection to the city and its people had grown, nurtured by the ebb and flow of its timeless magic. As darkness descended, painting the night sky with a myriad of stars, Samira turned her gaze to the east. The first rays of dawn were beginning to peek over the horizon, heralding the start of a new year, a fresh beginning for Babylon and its inhabitants. The blue pebble pulsed against her chest, aligning with the celestial rhythm of the cosmos. It was a beacon guiding her towards the path of destiny, reminding her of the responsibilities she had embraced, whatever challenges lay ahead. Samira knew she wasn't alone. The spirit of Babylon coursed through her veins, uniting her with generations of dreamers, scholars, and adventurers who had walked its ancient streets. With a newfound sense of purpose, she prepared to face the dawning day, ready to navigate the twists and turns of fate that awaited her in the heart of the ancient world. Samira scrambled up the last stretch of stairs, her lungs burning and her legs threatening to give out beneath her. She reached the top, collapsing onto the flat roof of the Ziggurat, just below the temple of Marduk, Babylon's patron deity. Gasping for breath, she turned to look back at the city, which lay spread out beneath them like a glittering tapestry woven with starlight. But her gaze was drawn back to the entrance of the temple, when a black-robed priestess emerged, walking slowly with measured steps towards them. "Did you bring it?" the priestess asked, her voice surprisingly gentle, demanding attention. Samira hesitated, holding out the smooth stone slab that they had found in the palace gardens. The priestess took it, turning it over in her hands as if feeling its weight. "I can feel its power," she murmured, closing her eyes. "But its magic is dormant. It needs to be awakened." The priestess opened her eyes and looked at Samira, a flicker of something akin to gratitude crossing her features. "You have done well," she said softly. "You have brought me the heart. Follow me." The priestess walked towards the entrance of the temple, gesturing for Samira and Kadar to follow her. As they entered the temple, the darkness was almost tangible, pressing in on them from all sides. The air was heavy with the scent of incense, myrrh and cedar, mingling with the faintest hint of something metallic, like old blood. The priestess moved deeper into the temple, her black robe billowing around her like a phantom. Samira and Qadir trailed behind, their footsteps echoing ominously in the vast chamber. In the flickering torchlight, the chamber revealed its secrets. Intricately carved walls depicting scenes from ancient myths and legends, lions with human heads snarled from the stonework, their eyes gleaming with eternal malice. Figures of gods and heroes locked in battle surrounded them, frozen in a silent, eternal struggle. The priestess stopped before a large stone door, adorned with a carving of the goddess Ishtar riding a chariot drawn by lions. She placed the heartstone on a raised dais before the door, and a soft blue light emanated from it, illuminating the chamber in shades of twilight. "What does it mean?" Samira whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Qadir shook his head, his face grave. "Only the priests who guard the temple know its secrets," he replied, his eyes fixed on the pulsating stone. The priestess turned, her face obscured by the hood of her robe. "This place holds many secrets. Secrets that must be kept hidden from prying eyes," she said, her voice echoing strangely in the chamber. "Secrets that could bring ruin upon Babylon if they fell into the wrong hands." A chill wind suddenly swept through the temple, extinguishing some of the torches and plunging the chamber into deeper shadows. Samira instinctively reached for Qadir, her fingers tightening in his calloused hand. "What was that?" she whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. The priestess raised her head, her eyes gleaming with an eerie light. "The heartstone calls to its kindred," she said softly, "and there are powers in this city that would use its magic for their own ends." Before Samira could ask more questions, the priestess turned back to the dais and raised her hands. In a language both ancient and powerful, she began to chant. The sound of her voice reverberated through the chamber, weaving its way into the very stones. As she chanted, the blue light from the heartstone intensified, seeping into the cracks in the walls and dancing in the shadows. Then, as if in response to the chanting, the door, with the carving of Ishtar, slowly began to move. It creaked open, revealing a dark opening beyond. Taking a deep breath, the priestess stepped forward and disappeared into the opening. Turning to Samira and Qadir, she beckoned for them to follow. They exchanged uneasy glances, but didn't hesitate. With the priestess leading the way, they crossed the threshold and stepped into the unknown. Inside, the passage was narrow and the air grew colder, causing goosebumps to rise on Samira's arms. The walls were rough, hewn from the very bedrock of the earth, and the ceiling was so low that she had to stoop to avoid hitting her head. The air hung heavy with the scent of dust and decay, as if the chamber had not seen fresh air in centuries. The only sound was their own breathing and the distant drip of water, echoing like a mournful drumbeat in the stillness. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened into a vast chamber. The sight before them was both breathtaking and terrifying. In the center of the room was a colossal statue of the Babylonian sky god, Anu, his eyes blazing with celestial fire. His outstretched arms were adorned with stars, each one a tiny pinpoint of light in the vast darkness. Around him, other deities were carved on the walls, their faces stern and forbidding. Above them, the ceiling was painted with swirling patterns of stars and constellations, as if the heavens themselves had been captured in the stone. But it was the floor that held the most disturbing spectacle. There, in the dim light filtering through cracks in the ceiling, lay rows upon rows of skeletons. Some were bound with shackles, their bones contorted as if in pain. Others were piled in heaps, suggesting a more gruesome fate. As Samira and Qadir moved closer, they could make out the details. Many of the skeletons wore the distinctive tunics of Babylonian soldiers, while others seemed to be simple civilians. Men, women, and children alike. Among them, Samira noticed a few that wore finer garments, their bones bearing strange markings. One had a bracelet adorned with the emblem of the royal family, while another clutched a pendant in its skeletal hand, its surface etched with intricate designs. The priestess stepped forward, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Here rest the souls who dared to challenge the gods, or those deemed unworthy of their power," she said, her voice devoid of emotion. "Their bones lie here as a warning to any who would seek to abuse the gifts of the heavens." The full weight of the Ziggurat's purpose crashed down on Samira. This wasn't just a place of worship or divine wisdom. It was a prison, a tomb, a monument to those who had fallen victim to the insatiable hunger of the gods. She shuddered, pulling her shawl tighter around her shoulders. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the chamber, sending shivers down Samira's spine. The sound seemed to come from the depths of the earth itself, a primal rumble that spoke of ancient and terrible things. She turned to the priestess, her heart pounding in her chest. But the older woman's face was pale, her eyes wide with alarm. The growl rumbled again, louder this time, and the statue of Anu trembled, his starry eyes blazing with an eerie light. "What was that?" Samira whispered, her voice tight with fear. Before the priestess could reply, the ground beneath them shook violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling as the chamber began to collapse. Rocks and dirt tumbled, blocking their path to the exit. Trapped in the crumbling ziggurat, Samira huddled with Qadir and the priestess in a small alcove, desperately seeking shelter from the falling debris. The air grew thick with dust, making it hard to breathe, and the sound of crumbling stone echoed around them. As the light faded, the three figures sat in silence, the weight of their uncertain fate pressing down on them. With a final shudder, the earth settled. The dust began to settle, revealing the grim reality of their situation. The passage they had come through was blocked, trapping them deep within the bowels of the priestess, her face streaked with dirt, looked at Samira and Qadir, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. "There must be another way out," she said, her voice tight. "Another way to escape this tomb." Samira, though afraid, felt a surge of determination. She had come too far to turn back now. Besides, she knew that if they stayed put, they would surely perish in the collapsing. Gathering her courage, Samira stood up, brushing dirt off her tunic. "Then let's find it," she said, her voice ringing with newfound resolve. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the alcove and into the ruined chamber, determined to lead her companions to safety. But as she moved, she noticed something glinting in the dim light, filtering through the cracks in the ceiling. With a mix of hope and trepidation, she moved closer. It was a narrow crack in the wall, barely big enough for a person to squeeze through. Hope surged through. Maybe this was their way out, a secret passage leading to freedom. The ziggurat's rumble faded into an eerie silence, but the starry altar's glow lingered in Samira's eyes, its visions of Babylon's golden age burning in her mind. She clutched the tiny scroll from the golden bird. Its words, the key tests, the worthy echoing like a riddle she couldn't yet solve. The blue pebble, still embedded in the altar, pulsed with a light that seemed to breathe, urging her onward. Qadir's hand trembled in hers, his face pale under the starlight. "The city's waking up," he whispered, his voice tight with awe and fear. "We need to move before the priestess returns." Samira nodded, her heart pounding as the pebble's warmth tugged her toward the Euphrates, its waters glinting like a path of molten silver below the ziggurat's towering steps. The night air was thick with the scent of myrrh and river reeds, and the distant hum of Babylon's festival drifted on the breeze, drums pulsing, voices laughing, but danger lingered in the shadows. The priestess's hawk-like eyes still haunting Samira's thoughts. She slipped the scroll into her pouch, its weight grounding her as they descended the ziggurat, their sandals whispering against the cool stone. At the riverbank, Qadir spotted a reed boat bobbing gently against a wooden dock, its woven sides glistening with dew. "This'll take us to the island," he said, his eyes scanning the horizon where a faint silhouette rose against the starry sky. Samira's vision from the altar flickered in her Minda-hidden cave, a stone lion, a secret waiting to be unlocked. She climbed into the boat, her fingers brushing the pebble's pouch, its glow seeping through the leather like a beacon. Qadir pushed off, his oars slicing through the water with practiced ease, though his gaze darted to the shadows along the shore. The Euphrates was alive with magic, its surface shimmering with fish that darted like jeweled emerald, sapphire, ruby catching the moonlight in fleeting bursts. Samira leaned over the boat's edge, her reflection rippling beside the stars. The pebble's pulse quickened, and another vision flashed. A cave on the island, its entrance guarded by a stone lion with a crystal lock. Her heart raced. Was the pebble the key to that lock? She glanced at Kadir, his face set with determination despite the sweat beading on his brow. "You've been to this island before?" she asked, her voice soft over the river's gentle song. "Once," Kadir admitted, his voice low. "It's sacred priests go there to pray. But there's stories of hidden rivers, older than Babylon itself." Before Samira could ask more, the sky darkened, clouds rolling in like a sudden storm. Lightning cracked, splitting the night with a jagged white arc. Kadir's eyes widened. "This isn't natural," he shouted over the rising wind. "The priestess she controls the storm." Samira's stomach twisted as rain lashed their faces, cold and sharp, soaking her shawl and chilling her to the bone. The boat spun in the churning waves, water splashing over the sides. Samira clutched the scroll, its edges damp but intact. As the pebble flared in her pouch, its light cutting through the storm's gloom, she held it up, and the glow spread, calming the waters around them like a shield. The wind howled, but the boat steadied, gliding toward the island's shadowy outline. Kadir's arms strained against the oars, his breath ragged. "How did you do that?" he gasped. But Samira could only shake her head, her mind reeling. The pebble's power was growing, but so was the priestess's wrath. They reached the island's rocky shore, the boat scraping against pebbles smoothed by centuries of tides. Samira's legs wobbled as she stepped onto land, the storm's roar fading to a distant grumble. The cave loomed ahead, its entrance a dark maw framed by vines that swayed like silent sentinels. The pebble's light illuminated a stone lion at the cave's mouth, its carved eyes glinting as if alive. A crystal lock gleamed in its chest, pulsing in time with the pebble. Samira's heart leaped. She pressed the pebble into the lock, and it clicked, revealing a hidden panel. Inside was a map, etched on stone, showing Babylon's secret river's veins of water weaving beneath the city like a living heart. Kadir's eyes widened. "This is what she fears," he whispered, pointing to the map's glowing lines. But thunder rumbled again, and Samira's skin prickled. The priestess's shadow was near. She could feel it. The cave's darkness beckoned, promising answers but hiding dangers. Samira clutched the map, its weight heavy with purpose. What power did it hold? And why did the priestess want to stop her? As they stepped toward the cave, the pebble pulsed, steadying her trembling hands. The island was quiet now, but the storm's echo lingered, and Babylon's secrets were waiting. The narrow cave passage yawned before them, its walls slick with moisture. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of wet earth, and something else, something ancient and indescribable. Samira felt a primal fear stir within her, a sense of unease that had nothing to do with the storm or the priestess's pursuit. "Are you all right?" Kadir asked, his voice echoing strangely in the confined space. Samira took a deep breath, forcing herself to meet his gaze. She couldn't let her fear show. Not now. Not when they were so close to the truth. "I'm fine," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Just a little claustrophobic. That's all." She hoped he wouldn't press further. There was something about this place, something that made her skin crawl. It wasn't just the darkness or the oppressive silence. It was as if the very essence of the cave was watching them, judging their every move. As they moved deeper into the darkness, Samira's senses heightened. Every drip of water echoed like a drumbeat in the stillness. Every creak of the earth sent a shiver down her spine. She pressed on, clutching the map, its rough texture a grounding presence in the suffocating darkness. Then a faint glow appeared ahead, a sliver of light piercing the oppressive black. Hope surged through some. The closer they got, the brighter it grew, revealing a cavern opening up before them, its ceiling adorned with intricate carvings of celestial bodies and mythical beasts. At its center, bathed in a soft, otherworldly glow, stood a crystalline pool, its surface rippling like a sheet of polished silver. The sight stole Samira's breath. It was as if they'd stumbled upon a hidden world, a place untouched by time and human eyes. She stepped closer, mesmerized by its beauty, and dipped her hand into its cool water. It felt like touching liquid starlight, and she could have stayed there forever, lost in its ethereal embrace. But the moment was shattered by the sound of crashing waves. The rain had stopped, and the wind was now a low, mournful howl. Samira turned to the entrance, her heart sinking. The protective darkness of the cave was gone, replaced by an unnatural twilight. The sky above was a swirling vortex of purple and black clouds, and in the distance, she could see the priestess standing at the mouth of the cave, her form silhouetted against the stormy sky. Her eyes, sharp and unwavering, were fixed on Samira. The realization hit Samira with the force of a physical blow. This island, this cave, it was a trap. They'd walked right into the priestess's game, and now there was no escape. The island trembled as the priestess unleashed her fury upon it, unleashing the full force of the storm she controlled. Waves crashed against the shore, sending spray high into the air, and the wind whipped around them, carrying with it the scent of ozone and impending doom. The cave shook, and Samira felt a deep, primal fear grip her. This was no longer just a test of courage or faith. This was a fight for survival. The pool at the cave's heart began to glow brighter, bathing the cavern in an ethereal light. Its energy surged through Samira's body, amplifying her fear, but also awakening something else, something powerful and wild. She could feel the strength of the island, the spirit of the storm, coursing through her veins, urging her to fight back. With a primal scream that echoed the fury of the storm itself, Samira raised her arms towards the raging sky. She didn't know what she was doing, but in that moment, she didn't need to. The island, the storm, the very essence of the night was behind her. The priestess advanced, her face a mask of cold determination. In her hands, tendrils of lightning crackled and danced, reflecting the turmoil in her eyes. She raised her arms, and bolts of lightning arced towards Samira, who stood frozen in place, her eyes blazing with defiance. Samira and Kadir burst from the mouth of the cave, stumbling onto the riverbank, away from the furious priestess and her goons, though whether they'd given her enough time to recover remained to be seen. The past few minutes had been sheer terror, not just from Nurgle's men. No, from the echo of the past itself, from the whispers of kings and priests, from the spirits of Babylon woven into the very fabric of the cave. And yet, standing there, bathed in moonlight, holding the amulet of Ishtar, feeling its thrumming energy beneath her tunic, something felt right. This was where she needed to be, where she was meant to be. And yet, danger lingered. From somewhere deeper in the labyrinth of caves, Nurgle's voice echoing with an unearthly power. I have waited centuries for this moment. Millennia, the amulet of Ishtar will be mine, and then Babylon will tremble before me once more. And you, little stars, you will watch it all and do nothing. Kadir, face grim, pulled a small skiff free from its moorings along the bank. It was barely big enough for two people, but it would have to do. He slid in, gesturing for Samira to follow. As she did, he grabbed a long oar, shoving off and starting downriver. We need to get to the Temple of Stars, he said, urgency lacing his voice, and fast. There was no time to lose. Nurgle's pursuit would start soon, and when the priestess unleashed the full force of her power, there would be no escaping her. Samira sat stiffly, hugging the sides of the boat to keep from falling in. As Kadir expertly navigated the winding river, her legs cramped and her arms ached from gripping the amulet pendant. But she didn't dare relax. Not until they reached the temple. Not until she knew the amulet was safe. Its humming throbbed against her chest, a constant reminder of what was at stake. If the priestess regained possession of the amulet, Babylon would be plunged into chaos. The delicate balance of its magic shattered forever. Samira wasn't sure she was ready for that responsibility. She glanced at Kadir. His face was set and grim, eyes scanning the banks for any sign of pursuit. How far is it? She asked, hoping the question didn't betray her fear. Not long, he replied, voice tight. If we can make it to the fork in the river, we can take the southern channel. It will lead us to the temple." Relief washed over Samira. At least the journey was almost over. As if sensing her thoughts, the amulet suddenly pulsed warmly, guiding her gaze to the river's edge. There, peeking through the reeds, was a pair of glowing eyes. A panther, sleek and muscular, stared back at her. Then it disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. "What was that?" Samira whispered, goosebumps prickling her arms. Kadir frowned, glancing over his shoulder again. "I don't see anything." The boat drifted silently, the only sound the lapping of water against the hull. But the panther's presence lingered, a foreboding specter in the darkness. Then it happened again, except this time, 2 pairs of eyes glinted at them from the reeds. Then 3, then 4, until the whole riverbank seemed alive with glowing eyes. Panic tightened its icy grip around Samira's heart. What were those things? Were they here to stop her? To take the amulet back to... Suddenly, one of the creatures darted out from the reeds, a lithe black form that landed gracefully on the bank in front of them. The others followed, emerging one by one, forming a line along the river's edge. Fear threatened to overwhelm her. But Samira steeled herself. Whatever these creatures were, they weren't attacking. So she had to believe they were here to help. With a final splash, the last creature slipped onto the bank and stepped forward. In the dim moonlight, Samira could see it was a panther, majestic and powerful, and perched atop its head was a woman with skin the color of polished bronze, eyes shining like molten gold. Her lips curled into a smile, bearing fangs that glinted with otherworldly fire. "Greetings, child of starlight," she purred, her voice like the rustling of leaves in the night wind. "I am Ishtar, goddess of the morning star and protector of Babylon. I have been expecting you." Her gaze fell to the amulet around Samira's neck. "You wear my amulet, child of starlight, but you are not of my bloodline. Why do you possess it?" Samira recounted everything that had happened since she found the lion statue in the royal garden. How she and Kadir had uncovered the truth about the amulets. How they had evaded Nergal's guards, escaped the collapsing palace, and endured the trials within the Whispering Caves. Finally, she finished, "This is why I wear it, to protect Babylon. Even if I'm not of your bloodline, your amulet should be worn by the rightful heir, someone descended from Nabu, who is not my father." Ishtar studied her for a long moment, her golden eyes Then she finally spoke, her voice softer now, stripped of its feline edge. "Your heart is pure, Samira, daughter of the River King, and your love for Babylon knows no bounds. That is all that matters." She reached out, her touch surprisingly cool, and pressed her hand against Samira's chest, where the amulet rested. "The amulet reacts to purity of heart, not blood ties. You are the only one who can wield its power, Samira, because you are the only one worthy." Relief flooded Samira, washing away her fear and fatigue. She looked up at Ishtar, gratitude and wonder in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. The goddess smiled, her fangs glinting in the moonlight. "Now, let us get you to the temple. There is much you must learn, much you must do if you wish to save Babylon from the encroaching darkness." The panthers, sensing the shift in mood, gracefully formed a line along the riverbank, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. One of them, bolder than the rest, dipped its head toward the river, inviting them to climb aboard. Carefully, Samir and Kadir clambered on, settling into the space between the panthers, holding on tight to each other for support. They rode as silent witnesses to the most magical spectacle of all, the procession of glowing-eyed panthers leaping across the water, carrying them swiftly, silently, toward the Temple of Stars. The temple rose before them, silent and majestic, its spires piercing the night sky like celestial fingers. Moonlight glistened on its white stone walls, bathing the scene in an ethereal glow. It was beautiful beyond compare. When they landed on the shore, Ishtar dismounted, turning to face them. "This is where our paths diverge, children of the starlight," she said softly. "Go now and seek the Oracle of the Stars. She will guide you to safety and teach you the ways of the amulet. I will hold the darkness at bay for as long as I can." But even the gods tire. Child of starlight, you must hurry. Before Samira could reply, Ishtar melted back into the shadows, disappearing among the reeds along the riverbank. With a final glance at the receding temple, she and Kadia turned and fled. They raced across the courtyard, weaving between ancient pillars and crouching statues. Somewhere within the temple's heart, the oracle awaited them, holding answers about the amulet, about Ishtar's prophecy, about the encroaching darkness. They had to find her before Nurgle's forces discovered this hidden sanctuary. Pushing aside a heavy velvet curtain, they stepped inside. The chamber was dim, lit only by shafts of moonlight pouring through high windows. In the center, bathed in a circle of silvery light, sat an old woman swathed in flowing robes. Her eyes, pools of twinkling starlight, regarded them with ancient wisdom. "You are here at last," she croaked, her voice like rustling leaves. "I've been waiting for you, child of the starlight." Samira and Kadir approached cautiously, drawn to the woman's otherworldly aura. As they drew nearer, the old woman raised a gnarled hand, palm open, and beckoned them closer. Taking a deep breath, Samira stepped forward. She had come so far, faced so many trials, all for this moment. She could feel the amulet thrumming against her chest, pulsing with power and purpose. "Oracle," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I seek your guidance. I wear the amulet of Ishtar, but I know not its ways." The oracle's gaze, sharp and penetrating, seemed to see right through her. Then a flicker of a smile touched her lips. "Ah, yes, the chosen one," she murmured, her eyes sparkling with distant memories. "The time has come at last." She beckoned for them to sit, and as they did, the huntress of Ishtar began her tale. A tale that reached back millennia, back to the dawn of Babylon, when the gods walked among mortals, when the great escape turns into a midnight swim and a search for treasure beneath the waves. Meanwhile, on the other side of the island, Ashara hurried towards the cave mouth, clutching her lantern tightly. The flickering light painted dancing shadows on the cave wall, mirroring the turmoil in her heart. Behind her, the retreating soldiers were fading into the darkness, leaving her alone with the echoes of their shouts and the pounding of her own footsteps. She emerged from the mouth of the cave and gasped. The sky above was a tapestry of swirling clouds lit by a sliver of moon. In the distance, the city of Babylon shimmered like a mirage. The Euphrates River reflecting its myriad lights. Panic tightened its grip on her. Where were Samira and Kadir? Had they made it to safety? With the amulet secured, the thought of them falling into the hands of King Marduk was too much to bear. She had to find them Hadar. Fear lent speed to her steps as she dashed along the shore, the soft sand yielding beneath her feet. Her eyes, wide and frantic, scanned the darkness beyond the wavering lamplight. Each rustle of reeds or splash of water sent a jolt of hope through her, followed by a fresh wave of despair when it turned out to be nothing but the wind playing tricks. What if the river had claimed them? Hadar? No, she refused to believe it. She wouldn't. As the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, painting the sky with hues of rose and gold, Ashura collapsed on the bank, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Exhaustion and worry gnawed at her, but the thought of Samira facing the king's wrath alone spurred her back into action. She needed help, someone to assist in her search. But who could she turn to in this desolate place? Suddenly, she remembered the old woman from the village, the healer, the one who spoke of ancient wisdom and the river's secrets. Perhaps she could help. With renewed determination, Ashari rose and retraced her steps back to the village, the rising sun warming her face, chasing away some of the shadows of the night before. The small settlement nestled between the river and the dunes was waking up. Smoke curled from clay ovens, the smell of baking bread mingling with the sweet fragrance of blooming papyrus flowers. Villagers, their faces etched with the hardships of life on the island, stirred from their sleep, their murmurs like ripples spreading on a still pond. Ashari approached the village elder, a woman whose eyes held the wisdom of countless seasons, and whose wrinkled hands had seen both joys and sorrows. The elder listened patiently, as Ashuri recounted the events of the previous night, her voice shaking with emotion as she spoke of the stolen amulet and her friends who were now in grave danger. When Ashuri finished, the elder remained silent for a long moment, her gaze distant, as if she was searching for answers in the depths of time itself. Finally, she spoke, her voice raspy. "I believe you," she said, her eyes meeting Ashuri's with unwavering sincerity. "The river has spoken to me. It tells me that our friends are alive and in peril. We must help them, not just because of the amulet, but because of the bond of friendship that unites us all." Hope surged through Ashura, chasing away some of the fear that had clouded her thoughts. She wasn't alone. The villagers, drawn by the urgency in her voice, had gathered around her, their faces etched with concern. Some whispered amongst themselves, their voices hushed but their words sharp with worry. Others stood silently, their gazes fixed on the river, as if seeking clues in its restless flow. "We will help you," the elder finally said, her voice echoing the sentiment that thrummed through the crowd. "Our boats are ready. We will cross the river and find your friends." The villagers wasted no time in preparing. Men and women, young and old, all pitched in, their movements swift and purposeful. Boats were untied from their moorings, their hulls gliding smoothly into the water. Paddles and oars were checked, ready to conquer the river's whims. Baskets and sacks were brought forth, filled with provisions for the journey. And as the last boat was cast off and the search began, Ashura couldn't help but feel a surge of admiration for these resilient people bound together by their connection to the river and their unyielding support for one another. As the fleet glided onto the Euphrates, the river seemed to part before them, its surface rippling with anticipation. Esra, standing at the prow of the lead boat, gripped her paddle tightly, her heart beating in unison with the rhythmic splash of paddles against water. The river was their lifeline, their guide, and she trusted its wisdom implicitly.